Talk about managers. On the other side, we've got Antonio Conte. He's caused something of a stir with an interview with Sky Italia. That seems to be a bit of a running theme, doesn't it? Interview with Sky Italia. Basically, he says it wasn't translated well, but among his quotes was this: "I certainly never expected that in January, 4 players who I still considered important would change their shirts for 1,000 reasons. This shows the difficulty." Shaka, what do you make of what Conte's saying here?
I make absolutely nothing of it. I think that's Antonio Conte being Antonio Conte. The fact remains the 4 players that left didn't feature very often for Antonio Conte. He brought in 2 players that he clearly wanted, and you have to believe that they're both his signings, Brendan and Kulusevski. So the complaint that there was 4 out and only 2 in rings desperately hollow. But you've seen this from Antonio Conte, wherever he's been, he's made waves and ultimately gotten his way and delivered titles. But he always seems to make waves first, and that's all he's doing at Spurs right now.
Say those players are. I mean, that's taking any credibility out of any. You know, you're talking about translation from Sky Italia. That's taking any credibility away when you're coming out and saying, I lost 4 important players. Because as Shaka said, no, you didn't. You lost 4 bodies. These guys were not, you know, to what he was trying to do. Allegedly, according to reports from 1 or 2 media outlets in the UK, told to stop giving interviews to Italian newspapers and outlets, and he himself apparently has complained that the media, whether that's Italian or whether that's the British media or English, are trying to paint him in a very bad light. The only thing painting him in a bad light at the moment is his team's performances, right? And the one thing we expected with Antonio Conte when he came in, and we got it slightly at the start, was he's going to make a difference to the existing player pool. He's going to make them tougher to beat. They're going to be working harder, they're going to be fitter, they're going to be sharper, they're going to be more aggressive. Everything you thought Antonio Conte's teams were going to be. We saw it against Liverpool in London a little bit, and since then, they've been battered by Chelsea. They beat Brighton, but were outplayed for long periods. Southampton wiped the floor with them in terms of a performance. It was close in terms of scoreline, but in terms of a performance, Southampton outplayed them. And then Wolves, under Bruno Lage, have been excellent, controlled them, right? That's nothing to do with those 4 players leaving. He has to sort this out and sort it out quickly. And this is the last place he wanted to go this weekend. But spare me all these excuses. He knew, Kay, what he was coming into. Otherwise, he's not right in the head. If he didn't know what he was coming into, he wants his head looking up.
Nadim, can you see Antonio Conte sticking around after this season?
It doesn't feel like that at the moment, but you know, you just don't know, do you? They might go on a good run, maybe they'll finish 4th and there'll be a sense of positivity around the place. But I think the fact that he's complaining about certain issues already, it isn't a very good sign. And Spurs, it's not like they're known for buying tons of players for huge amounts of money every transfer window. So in terms of a manager and a perfect fit for a club, because as Conte said in his interview, I think he kind of wants the quick results, but the club's identity doesn't really belong to that because they want to develop players. So it seems like there's a bit of a mismatch there from the get-go. But again, it's interesting. As Craig said, it's Spurs. As Conte coming to Spurs in November, are they really going to be a different club to the one which he potentially turned down in July? I don't think so. So it's a very, very strange position for them to be in at the moment, I think.
Just before we go to the boys quickly, just to add to his this week, he also said earlier in the week that Tottenham are obviously a club that are just buying for the future, and the 2 players that they brought in. Now, I'll give you Kulusevski's only 21, right, but he's played 20 times for Sweden. But Bentancur's 24. Now, in these days, we don't call a 24-year-old a youngster, particularly not one who's played almost 50 times for Uruguay. Now, we can argue about whether Bentancur is the answer or whether he was playing well at Juventus or all that. But he's a hugely experienced player in the prime of his career. Between the age of sort of 24, 25 and 30, you're hugely experienced, you're in the prime, you're coming in from Juventus, and he's talking about, well, these players, they've just been bought for the future. They're not for the here and now. But it's just gobbledygook.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.